Hello, my name is Mihaela, and in this video I'd like to talk to you about 5 different ways in which you can Hello, my name is Mihaela, and in this video I want to talk to you about 5 ways to spend your time in a positive way given the extraordinary circumstances we find ourselves in of self-quarantine and self-isolation because of coronavirus. These are very anxious times. As a business owner and new mum, I find myself fighting a lot of negative thoughts. On the one hand, there's thoughts that have to do with my business, the longevity of my business, whether things will stay in place. A lot of contracts and events are being cancelled, which really is very bad news for my business. So I'm trying to stay positive and focus on the things I can do to mitigate that. On the other hand, I'm a new mum and I've got a young child that I'm constantly thinking about protecting. This virus is invisible to the eye, but to a mum, you feel like it's everywhere. So there's a lot of things in my life that I have to deal with from a mental health point of view, and I find myself having to discover ways to positively use my time so as to not let myself be overwhelmed by the amount of anxiety that I'm currently experiencing. That's what I want to talk to you about. I know a lot of friends that are in this situation at the moment. A lot of my family are in this situation. We're all trying to reduce the spread of this virus by just staying at home. Now, if we're in a fortunate position to be able to stay at home because we can afford to, because our jobs are flexible enough, this is a huge privilege. There's a lot of people whose jobs cannot let them do that. You know, if you're a doctor and you work in the NHS, there is no way you can take time off. So the fact that we have the privilege to stay at home means also that we need to find ways in which to positively use our time and find ways to help others as well. There's really very little we can control at the moment, but we can control a very, very important thing, and that's how we choose to spend our time and how we react to things. So the first thing to talk about is really coming from what I've just said, being grateful for each and every day that we get to live. Although the mortality rate of this virus is currently very low, this is the first time in the history of the World Health Organization that they have called a global pandemic. We live in really extraordinary times, so being grateful for the fact that we get to be here and exist on this planet is step number 1. Whether it's waking up every morning and saying the things that you're grateful for. Personally, I'm grateful for my family, for my daughter, for my husband, for my home, for the health that I have. In the smallest of senses, it needs to be acknowledged, and it really sets the tone and your mind in a positive mind frame. So really practicing gratitude, perhaps now more than ever, is a routine that would really benefit a lot of people. Just as I said that, my daughter walks through the door and she's crying. So I'm grateful for her, and I'm going to go tend to her needs. So just as I was talking about gratitude, my daughter and husband walked through the door, she's crying, so I had to go tend to their needs. But now I'm back and I'm grateful for this exact moment. The second thing I want to talk to you about is daily nourishment. So obviously hydrating yourself, but also finding recipes that you might want to experiment with and nourishing yourself with good food. It doesn't have to be expensive food or crazy recipes with ingredients you cannot get a hold of in this time, but really focusing on good nourishing staples. So in our family, that means soups. I love a good carrot coriander soup. Just sort of any type of vegetable soup I am up for. Experimenting with recipes is really, really fantastic, a way to spend your time in a positive way. The third thing is finding a creative outlet, whether that's picking up a new hobby. For me, that meant crocheting. So a friend of mine came a week and a half ago and showed me how to crochet, and I've just been obsessed with it ever since, and I've been making this bunny for my daughter. Then physical activity. There are so many ways in which you can exercise at home. Whether that's gentle exercise, you can do some stretching, to full-blown HIIT workouts. Now is a fantastic way to get into this habit of exercising. So for me, that means Pilates, 15 minutes a day, something that's very short but can provide such an incredible reward for my body and for my mind. Obviously, creating this video and finally setting up this YouTube channel that I've been meaning to do for 2 years. 2 of my friends, my dear friends, are watching, Radina and Isabel. They know I've been talking about putting something like this together for a very long time, but I've never really got around to doing it. And so even though now as a new mom I have less time than I've ever had before in my life, I'm actually very excited to do this because I didn't want to let one day go by. The fourth thing is communication. So obviously we live in a day and age where we can communicate with our friends and family very easily. My family is in Romania and my husband's family is in the United States, so very far away, but we use FaceTime and WhatsApp to communicate with them on a daily basis. So it's really important to keep them close, especially in this time of self-isolation when people can feel lonelier than ever. Last but not least, practicing good personal hygiene. Of course, it should be the case beyond coronavirus in normal times of flu and just general day-to-day life, but now more than ever being really careful about what we touch, what we bring into the house, and how we can make it a more sterile environment. Being really mindful of small things. So for example, the other day we had someone bring in a delivery and they offered to sign the screen to acknowledge we've received the package. So immediately after doing that, we went and washed our hands. So just a simple thing like that, being mindful of the things that you touch. Speaking of which, our phones are probably the dirtiest things that we own. I used to laugh at my brother for doing this on a regular basis before this whole craziness with coronavirus. Actually, I think he was onto something, because our phones are really dirty and just taking the time to clean them is also very important. So make sure you do that. So these are just 5 small things that I thought I would share with you. Again, being grateful for each day, daily nourishment, finding a creative outlet, communicate with your family, and finally, practicing good personal hygiene are 5 things that I think can help anyone survive this period of self-isolation. We don't know how long this is going to last for. We don't know when things are going to go back to normal. We don't actually know what normal will look like in the future. It might be a very long time until we can pick up our lives from where we left them. It's really a case of just adapting to the situation each and every day until we maybe find ourselves in a completely new normal. I hope you all stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next video.